tulee hiukkasmäärä isompi, mutta niiden energiataso on pienempi. Sitten tässä samalla mittaan tietenkin kaikki nämä lumen ominaisuudet, tiheyden, kovuuden, kristallikoon, kristallimuodot käyn läpi kanssa, että profiloin lumipeitteen täysin sitten.
Also in the nature there are lots of everything and nature and everything, so it's not easy like there outside the birds.
This is it. Most people assume that they're really happy and stress-free in the wild.
Fall asleep and then die sleeping.
That's how you know it.
By tomorrow they will be dead.
Okay.
If you put them in the freezer.
Then you put it in the...
Then you throw it away.
Okay. I thought it's not about to even throw the corpse away.
If they're dead, it's okay.
Okay.
But the bacteria is the one that want to burn.
Okay.
What about the egg? You said they're eggs or larvae or something?
If we put the whole flask in the freezer,
It all dies.
You can actually frozen lots of cells and bring them back, but you need to coat them with glycerin. It's a fly.
Sometimes behave like algae and sometimes they behave like animals. Life makes different forms to survive. Smelting water or raining water is collected to this and it brings nutrients into the water.
If we're looking at these issues, how are we as artists then kind of creating something that communicates the things we're looking at? And for me the real big danger at the moment is that artists are trying to represent things too didactically and too truthfully in a way, too objectively, so that we're trying to there's an edge of becoming a scientist when we should be more free to explore the science and to communicate what we think of the science rather than the science itself. So the artistic perspective is not to do a job of the scientist, it's something else. But I think that you get wrapped up in this kind of public communication of science and the desire to tell the truth through what we're learning about, whereas I think it's interesting to sit on the edges of the truth.
Describe something that is factually incorrect. Maybe this message will pass as being correct.
But if you're creating a piece of artwork, are you trying to create something that is factually correct? I mean, since when did that...
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
I think just because your work...
It depends on how it is read or represented or what is the message
but
you are transmitting.
As an artist, you don't actually have you can only suggest what it means. It's up to the public to make what they will with. They look at tissue culture and art's work and they think this is the future. And tissue culture and art are not saying that victimless meat is the future they want.
The Impressionists were painting a view of the world. It could be argued that their view, it's not real. That's not how it is. So in the art and science world, what's the difference between an artist doing that, taking their impression and putting it out there? Does it carry a bigger responsibility of
I remember that when there was this big hype about the genome project and all this, there were many artists doing transgenic artworks and claiming that what they were doing was something that it wasn't.
Do you have to make a statement to go alongside your piece of work? Can't you just create something?
I think artists have a license to do whatever.
But it doesn't stop us trying to get to the bottom.
I have an issue with artists that are trying to actually fix real problems. I don't think that's the role of artists. I have no issues. I think that deception is part of the artistic license.
So if someone claims that something is transgenic and it is not transgenic, that is as good as it was transgenic.
But it can be also like provocative.
You know, because from my perspective, what I'm claiming I'm doing, I try to actually do. You know, I'm kind of
that is you.
That is me, but I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with other artists claiming stuff that's not necessarily true, because the idea of truth in art is a very slippery one. And there's no, you know, it's not like scientific fraud. You know, if a scientist claims something which is not true, there's some kind of a license that the scientists have with society that's a breach of that license. If an artist claims something that is not true, there's no license that is being breached. There's no kind of contract. When people apply for symbiotica, because they feel that we're working within the context of science, they're trying to legitimize some pseudo-scientific.
Bottom line, if someone claims that something is transgenic and it is not transgenic, that is fine for you. For an artist.
If the concept, you know, it can be really bad art. Yeah. So if he claims that something is transgenic and he's got an interesting story to tell, or kind of an interesting concept that is trying to reveal through this deception, I have no issue. If he's just trying to claim that it's transgenic for the idea of newness and I'm the first one to do this kind of stuff, or you know, all of those other things which are peripheral to the actual concept, and that seems to be the driving force, then it's really bad art. So it's not.
It's just sensational.
Yeah, or basically just the use of that deception for purposes which are not interesting or not functioning as good art.
And it is also possible to make mistakes and misunderstandings.
Completely.
Yeah.
Photography is not art and science, although interesting enough, kind of the
researchers, scientific practices, they are around us, but art and science, it is a really difficult concept.
Makes it sound like the whole artistic process is lacking in rigour.
No,
it's not.
It's
quite rigorous,
it's just,
even though it seems
it's
from
not
those
that.
descriptions
It's
quite sketchy.
It's not sketchy. It's sort of like, you know, it's like me walking through the path, you know, choosing the stream and saying I want to go this direction, and you know, I didn't really get wet for some reason. For some reason, there seemed to be rocks where I needed them to be rocks. And if there wasn't, then, you know, I did stop and go backwards a bit. But, you know, I didn't know, I didn't construct all these rocks in this stream such that they were perfect for my gaze, but they were there. And this is a bit sort of a, you know, it was silly. You shouldn't walk in the middle of the stream because there should always be a point where the rocks stop and you get wet. But if you believe, it's like walking on water, isn't it?
If you pick a very rocky stream.
Yeah, I know. And so, you know, somehow you know which rocky streams to walk along and which marshes to avoid, because, you know, the marshes don't actually, like I tried to walk through here. There's a marsh here.
Right.
And you can't get through it. You can say, it will work, but like it doesn't matter how you try and get through this. You know, it's not really for us to walk through. So it's not like a lack of rigor. It's a trust in your own.
No, that's what I mean. There is rigor.
The rigor is that you can trust that you will find some path and something at the end where you go, aha, that's what I was meant to discover.
What I'm doing in my artwork is almost trying to distance myself as the artist and trying to let something else make the work. So particularly when it's living systems or nature, letting that have some kind of way of manifesting. If nature could make art, what would it make? How would it do it? What am I? Am I just a
you artists should know that.
We do.
Because the immune system studies cells that are the only cells in the body that are truly creative. You certainly have learned that proteins are made of genes, right? So you have a gene, and the gene encodes a protein. There are 40,000 genes. So roughly, how many proteins do you think there exist? Different proteins.
A million.
Not a million, a million of a million, so 10 to the 12 proteins. And these 10 to the 12 different proteins, 99% of them are made by the immune system. Okay, so if extraterrestrial comes here, takes Brian and decides to study what is a human being and meshes Brian and studies all the proteins, he thinks that a human is an immune system with a tiny bit of the rest of it.
Yeah. And then this is also dwarfed by how much bacteria.
And the other thing that we tend to learn is that all our cells have the same genetic information. So all our cells have the same DNA encoded on them. True, right?
Apparently.
Except the cells from the immune system.
Right, which
Because
is the
they
bulk
are
of
really, really creative. And the way they are creative is that these cells, the lymphocytes, what they do in order to recognize different bugs, like different viruses and so on, is to introduce changes in their own DNA deliberately.
Right.
So the DNA of these cells is different from one another. And this is what makes one cell being able to recognize the influenza virus of this year, but not the influenza virus of next year.
So it takes it in its genome. Yeah.
Sorry?
So it takes the genetic information of foreign.
No, it doesn't take anything foreign. That is the beauty of it, because it cannot take anything foreign, because the bacteria, the life cycle of a bacteria is what, 20 minutes or so, so they can mutate very rapidly. The viruses from one year are different from the next, and we take 20 years for our life cycle. So the immune system is able to recognize everything that exists and everything that doesn't exist. And in fact, there was a German guy called Karl Landsteiner that made an experiment where he decided to inject rabbits at that time with different molecules. And he even created these molecules, you know, that have the D and L, what is it called? Isomers. And one of them exists in nature and the other doesn't exist in nature. So he created these proteins.
Maybe one to tell. Basically, what's it? Carbohydrates. Like glucose.
Yeah.
They have some of them have their active ingredient on the left hand side, and some have it on the right hand side. And we like the L version. But there's this whole mirror universe of the D.
That doesn't exist in nature. Doesn't exist.
But some people are trying to engineer it now.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't.
What is like the square root of -1?
Oh no, it's just that all our system is designed to make this the L version and not the D. So sometimes if you do a normal chemical synthesis, you'll get a mixture of these. What's it, racemate? And your body will look at, say, hey, there's some good stuff there, but they kind of ignore the rest, even though they're, functionally they're the same. It's just that they have a different handedness.
But basically,
what do they exist or not? So they don't.
They're not part of our metabolism.
They're not part of our nature. In fact,
No.
Our metabolism or any metabolism
until now.
And in fact, but you can produce this order in the laboratory. And what Landsteiner did was to produce these molecules in the laboratory. And in fact, the immune system, although these molecules do not exist anywhere, it can recognize these molecules and make antibodies against them. And he coined the word that the immune system as completeness. It is complete. It can recognize everything that exists and everything that does not exist. Besides this, it is also the only biological system, except probably the nervous system, that also has memory. It has a way to identify shapes, in fact, because what the system recognizes are shapes, different shapes, and to remember the shapes that it encountered in the past when it faces the same shapes again in the future. This is the basis of fascination.
Алло. За машину одан дос, а то несколько видом какие автобусы стоят с головы. Или более. Ой.